This video is made for adult collectors because he's gonna rock your socks off with his earthquakes because he's Quake. I don't know.
Wait, that's not the right Quake.
Quake has had an interesting set of toys because he had his G1 toy, then two retools. Well, one's a head swap and one's a partial, a very heavy partial. Legacy Quake caused quite the kerfuffle when they revealed it because it was an extremely heavy partial of Skullgrin, and I wasn't expecting that, and they changed a lot, like a lot. And I kind of like it, it's super cool. This is Legacy Quake, and this is Titan's Return Quake, and this is Bai, the sponsor of today's video. Terrible segue again. This video is this video is brought to you by Bai, a proxy buying site that allows you to buy things from Japan that don't ship outside of Japan. And I found a legit Legacy Quake on here, box and all, because he isn't out in Canada yet. And I found this Beast Wars 2 Galvatron complete for 70 bucks, and this entire Power Master Optimus Prime and God Bomber sealed for less than 200. That's definitely something we're going to be talking about soon because I have a lot to say. But there are way more Transformers on there for you to pick through. Doom scrolling to your heart's content through Yahoo Japan Mercari, which they do have a Mercari promotion happening right now. Just please budget for shipping because the more you add, the more expensive it becomes. You can check them out, linked in the description down below. Thank you very much for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the actual toy. Quake here looks good. I love the colors, the shade of blue and burgundy with the bits of black and gray. I really dig the tread shins with how they transition into those burgundy thighs. He's really clean too. There's no junk hanging off of him unnecessarily. Compared to the Titan's Return one though, it's a lot nicer to mess with for me personally. This thing is a redeco of Hardhead, and man, it's aged. The old one feels a lot more rickety and weird in comparison to the new Quake. Hell, the new Quake feels better to me than Skullgrin or the G2 Trooper. He doesn't have his rubber parts on the hips, so the hips move all the way out and they move properly and fine and don't get stuck. My Skullgrin scared me this morning when I went to go film this video. His legs on mine hold together better than my Skullgrins as well. And honestly, the plastic in areas feels a little bit nicer. It's hard to explain. Quake also has a really nice head sculpt. I love the way this is shaped with the gold face and those piercing red eyes. He also comes with two friends that act exactly like needle noses, but I like how they're painted. Though the painted handle here is a bit strange. Once it starts chipping off, it's gonna look a bit weird because it has to go in his hand. These are new tooling compared to needle noses. I kind of like folding the hands up with the guns in them so that it looks like the guns are coming from underneath the arms.
So Legacy Quake's posing is actually quite nice because there's a lot of really cool things that it can do, and it's really satisfying to move all of the joints. Like they're so smooth. I like that. So to start with, the head is on a ball joint, though you can't really get much tilt out of it. You can wiggle up and down a little bit. Actually, is it on a ball joint? Yeah, it is. It just swivels. That's all you get. Shoulders can do a full 360. They can go in and out. You have bicep rotation. You have a single jointed elbow that bends a little above 90 degrees. Nothing at the wrist, because as you saw in the previous clip, I twisted this wrist and it came right off because it's just on a friction peg. It's not going in. What the hell? Come on. There we go. It's not a wrist joint. You do have a waist joint, and the turret does not get in the way of that. You can rotate it a full 360. The hips can go forward higher than 90. They can go back that far. Then you have in and out. You have thigh rotation. You have a really nice English. A really nice knee bend that goes a little bit above 90 degrees. And then the craziest ankle tilts for someone who's a tank former, which also exposes a little bit more detail, which is kind of nice. Oh, and then the feet can kind of tilt a little. It's not really useful, but he's very fun, and you can get him in some really dynamic shooting poses like you saw earlier. Like that's a lot of fun. And by comparison, the old Quake isn't as posable. So the head, this cannon can move. Head is on a ball joint. You do get more tilt out of it and a little bit more up and down because it's a headmaster. Shoulders, ball joints, they can go around. They can go out about that far. Bicep rotation. Double jointed elbow that really only bends like that far. But he has a wrist swivel, which is one of the reasons why his arms look so long, is because they put a wrist swivel. Nothing at the waist. Hips are on ball joints. They can go forward. They go back that far, in and out, thigh rotation, and then knee bend. And that's pretty much it. That's not useful. So yeah, he's nowhere near as nice to mess with or as articulated. He's also covered in toy hacks, but he is nowhere near as nice to pose as the new one.
So the robot isn't the thing people took issue with on Quake. it was the tank mode, but getting there is really neat in how different it feels from the regular Skullgrin.
All right, Quake's transformation. It shares maybe one thing with Skullgrin, and that's where the arms end up. Everything else is completely new and very interesting and a lot of fun. So to start with, what we're going to do is open up the chest. Then we're going to bring this back section up. Then you're going to shift the arms down till it clicks. There we go. Then you fold in the hands, and we will rotate the arms in so that they are facing inward like that. Get that pegged together, and then fold this up, and that is where the Skullgrin stops. So you're going to bring this turret down. Then we're going to work on the legs, and most of the tank is hiding in the legs. So what you're going to do here is you're going to take this section, flip it up like that while bending the knee 90 degrees. Then you bring this section out, this little section out. Then you got an accordion piece here, and you want to accordion it down. Now you have to pay a lot of attention to how this accordion works, because if you get it wrong, it'll come right off. It's on a friction peg, so it goes right back on. But yeah, you have to make sure you're doing that correctly. But once you compress that, you then fold the foot up and fold this around to eat the foot. Then you bring this section out and fold that up, and that is an entire side of the tank. And that's really cool how it's all just sort of hiding in here. I love that. I love how intricate that feels, and yet how simple it is at the same time, because boom, there you go. Now you have the side of the tank. Like, that takes no effort, and it's so interesting. It's a little confusing when you first get it, but like, it's really fun, the order of operations. You peg the feet together, then you bend it at the hips for don't do that. Don't squeeze it too hard. Bend it at the hips first, and then at the torso, because you bend it the other way around, it's not going to work that well. And then these little shoulder tabs are going to peg into the inside of the tank here. And they just sort of slip into place. And there you have Quake's abysmal tank mode. Now the older tank is just the hard head mold, so like it's a lot easier to do, except you have to rip his head off. And you fold up the feet, fold in the arms, compress the arms in, then bring this section out and fold that down. Then bring this section back, unpeg this, bring it around, and that will peg into somewhere. Oh yeah, right here under the crotch. Peg that in. Then you bring the arms down and in. That will, there we go. Peg, peg, fold up the crotch flap, fold up the crotch flap, fold up the, there we go. And that's the toy hacks are coming off. And that's your Quake. And yeah, it's not as fun to do as this one. I mean, we'll get into the looks, but it's not as fun to do as the new one. The new one's a lot more fun.
That is a strange ass tank. It looks so funky because it looks backwards, but it isn't. It is really messy. I think if the turret was more uniform, then it would be okay, but visually, this is not the greatest. The detail on display is quite nice, however, the arms are just hanging out there on the front, which is distracting. The turret can rotate, but it rotates weird. It moves up and down, which it has to in order to rotate. Like, you rotate it, it just pushes the barrel up. It's just an odd tank. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. Like, it does the job. He does have full treads, though, so take that, Skullgrin. The Titan's Return one is a much more cohesive tank, because it was just hardhead with no tooling changes. And while it is a much better built tank, it doesn't feel like Quake to me. It's too flat. So I much prefer the new one over this. And this new Quake is nifty. I do really like having it, but if you don't like the tank mode, then I understand the aversion to wanting to get one. I think retail is still worth it though, but the tank is odd. But again, big thanks to Bayi again for sending this my way and the other stuff, because, you know, that Power Master Optimus, I have things to say about it. But again, Bayi linked below. But that's my look at Legacy Quake and the Titan's Return one technically. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.